time. Here's Peter Dutton now. Let's listen.
There are a couple of comments, obviously, that we want to make in relation to the coalition's position on tax. A couple of issues that I wanted to comment on first. I think all Australians are frankly shocked in relation to the sentence that's been handed down in Beijing to Australian citizen Dr Yang. We need to call out egregious behaviour, and it's not just Dr Yang. There are many other freedom fighters and people who are speaking up for civil rights and for human rights who will never see the light of day again. And it's time for our country and for other countries of similar values around the world to be very frank about the human rights abuses that are taking place. And as we know, in relation to Australian citizens in the past, there have been circumstances where natural justice has been denied, where people have been detained beyond the sentence of a court, and there are many issues that we need to deal with. But in relation to Dr Yang, I think most Australians would be shocked and appalled at this sentence, and I stand shoulder to shoulder with the Prime Minister in condemning the situation that Dr Yang finds himself in. Medical assistance obviously needs to be provided as a matter of urgency, and I think the President and others would do well to reconsider this matter, because I think it not only has a very negative impact personally on Dr Yang, but it also tarnishes the reputation of the People's Republic of China as well. I also want to send a clear message to King Charles. I'm sure, again, all Australians would wish him well in his fight against the diagnosis of cancer. As I said this morning, it's an opportunity, though, for a good message to come, and I know the Palace has been pushing this message as well, but particularly for men who just don't go to the doctors regularly enough. People busy with their lives, running kids around to school and sport, busy with work, etc. Early diagnosis of many cancers will mean the ability to treat the cancer and for people to increase their chances of survival, and it's something we should all take very seriously. Well, as you know, this morning the Coalition Party Room met and we dealt with what's been an egregious lie by the Prime Minister. I think, again, Australians have been shocked to know that they've got a liar in the lodge and they've got a Prime Minister who looks the Australian public in the eye and is prepared to lie to them. He promised on 97 occasions that power prices would come down by $275. He's never mentioned that figure since the election. He promised on The Voice that he would give the detail to the Australian public. Well, the election and the vote was last October. The detail's still not been provided to the Australian public. The Prime Minister deliberately deceived the Australian public on The Voice, deliberately deceived the Australian public in relation to bringing down energy costs, and he's deceived the public in relation to the tax cuts, which he promised on more than 100 occasions. He's taken the money away, obviously, from the proposed Stage 3 tax cuts, which had been legislated. He's robbed that money and he's put it into the proposal that he's got forward on the table at the moment. Now, as you move around the country, as we all do, the stories of hardship for families, for small businesses, are obvious and in abundance. And there are some tragic stories out there at the moment of single-parent families, of people who are working hard but living in cars, people who are $8,000 a year worse off under this government, people with a mortgage who are $24,000 a year worse off under this government, people who are relying on the Prime Minister to make good economic decisions, and in 2 budgets he's made bad decisions, and the situation has deteriorated for a lot of families. And there are very few Australians who could say today that they are better off under Anthony Albanese than they were under the coalition government. And if you speak to people, economists, business leaders, they are very concerned about the second half of this year as well. So the coalition is not going to stand in the way of providing support to Australians who are doing it tough. Prime Minister's made this change for his own political survival. We're supporting this change, not to support the Prime Minister's lie, but to support those families who need help now, because Labor has made decisions that have made it much harder for those families. And that's the position that we have adopted as a party room. I want to thank Jane and Angus for the work that they've done. We will take to the next election a significant tax policy which will reduce taxes for Australian taxpayers, because we know that there is going to be a lot of support needed to help Australian families recover from this period of Labor. They never ever manage the economy well. They always make decisions that are in the union's best interests, in the union leaders' best interests, in big business best interests. But we are the party, as I've repeatedly said, of small business, of family businesses and micro businesses. We are the party of the working class. The Labor Party, the modern Labor Party, is the party of the union boss, not the worker.